This is a story about a phone call, the call that came, and another one that never happened at all. I am very good at being needed. I built my entire life around it. The midnight emails, the 3-hour drives for a client meeting I could have taken over video, the way I smiled through exhaustion because that was what a good provider looked like, and I had confused looking like one with actually being one for longer than I care to admit. I had a schedule that other men envied, a career that justified the schedule, and a daughter named Rosie, who had learned, the way children learn everything quietly, through repetition, without anyone meaning to teach her, that she lived just slightly outside the edge of my most urgent things. That no matter how lovely the moments we were creating, if a call came, Daddy would pick it up, he would leave the couch, leave the movie in between, and then the popcorn won't taste the same, nor the movie. I didn't know that's when she learned that I would have been devastated if anyone had told me, and the fact that I didn't notice. That's the part that took me the longest to sit with. Rosie was 17 that October, and quiet in the way teenagers are quiet when they've given up on loud. She had my economy with words, that careful, rationed way of offering yourself only up to the point where you might be turned away. I recognized it in her, because I had built the same wall in myself, and I had always been proud of it, that stoicism, without understanding what it costs a child to inherit it from a parent who never named it. One day I wrote in my notes to put more effort into your daughter, like some task. I was addicted to the list that even putting effort into my daughter needed to be written in the to-do list, but something happened. Rosie had started calling me more that month. Not long calls. Rosie was never a long call person, but 4 times in 2 weeks, which was unusual enough that I noticed it, and not unusual enough that I did anything about it. I looked at the list and thought, maybe I don't need to put effort. Maybe I was not the absent father as I thought I was. She called once to ask about a movie I'd mentioned years ago, something she suddenly wanted to watch. Once, to tell me about a girl at school who'd said something unkind, though she laughed it off so quickly I let her. Once, to ask if I still had a photograph of the 2 of us from a camping trip when she was 9, both of us at a lake, her on my shoulders, laughing at something I could no longer remember. And once, just to say she was driving by my old neighborhood and wondered if I still liked it there. The thing is that even in those calls, I could not help but think when the call would end and I would get back to my work. I didn't understand then that she was circling, that she was trying to find the door. I didn't understand because I wasn't paying the kind of attention that would have told me. I was paying the other kind, the kind that keeps your calendar full and your inbox manageable and your life running efficiently toward goals that seem right up until they don't, like the point of everything. The call on Tuesday came at 4:47 in the afternoon. I was in a meeting. Not a critical meeting. Not a meeting where the outcome would change lives or where my absence would have been anything more than a minor inconvenience to people who were perfectly capable of continuing without me. I saw her name on the screen. I felt something. I want to be honest about this. I felt something register in the back of my chest, some small flag going up, and I put the phone back in my pocket. She called again at 4:51, 20 minutes, I thought. I'll call her back in 20 minutes. The meeting ran long. They always do. I called her at 6:23. She didn't answer. I tried again at 7:10. Still nothing. I told myself teenagers were like this, that she was with friends, or watching something with headphones in, or simply existing in the ordinary inaccessibility of being 17. I told myself the recent calls were just a phase, a temporary gravitational pull toward me that would settle on its own. I told myself a lot of things in the 2.5 hours between 6:23 p.m. and the moment my phone rang with Claire's name on the screen at 11:44 that night. Claire was not calling to chat. Rosie had driven to the bridge on the east edge of town at around 4:50, and the call I received was at 4:51, which means after the accident, when she was conscious, I was the last person she was thinking about calling me when she was bleeding out, calling for her dad, and her dad just ignored it. It was raining heavily, and the water was overflowing from the sewage. She tried to keep her head up, but the blood loss was too much. The doctors were not sure whether she died of drowning or loss of blood. I could imagine her struggle as she was trying to keep herself conscious and at the same time keeping her head out of the overflowing water. She was found by a woman walking her dog. She called someone. By the time the ambulance arrived, I always wonder that an unknown woman sat with my daughter and held her hand, that Rosie was not alone at the end, even though she had believed in the terrible logic of her pain. When my father should have been there. She was just 10 minutes from my office. 10 minutes. I was in a meeting. There are things you do not know about yourself until the worst night of your life teaches them to you in a language you cannot unhear. I did not know that I could feel my own heartbeat in my fingertips. I did not know that a hospital corridor could stretch into something that felt geographically impossible, like a hallway in a dream. I did not know that the human body could remain standing and walking and breathing and performing the mechanical motions of a person, while everything inside it had already gone somewhere unreachable. I listened to her voicemail for the first time at 11:52 p.m., standing in a parking lot outside the hospital, my back against cold concrete, the sky above me a flat and indifferent black. "Hey, it's me. Just thinking about you. I'll try again later. 11 seconds. I stood there for a very long time. In the months that followed, I went through every call. I went through them with the obsessive forensic attention of a man trying to find the exact location of a crack in a foundation, as though understanding precisely where it was would somehow restore the structure. The camping photograph she had asked for. She had been building her archive. The film she suddenly wanted to watch. She had wanted to watch it with me. I understood this later. Had wanted a specific ordinary evening of sitting beside her father in a darkened room. The kind of evening we had not had in years, and which I had kept meaning to arrange. The comment about my old neighborhood. She was driving through the places that had held her, mapping her own history, trying to locate herself in a world that had started to feel, in the quiet of her interior, like it did not need her specifically in it. She had given me 4 calls, 4 opportunities, not dramatic ones, not calls where she said, "I need help, I'm not okay, please come." Rosie was not built for that kind of asking, and part of why she was not built for it is a question I have sat inside every day since October and will sit inside for the rest of my life. She asked the way she knew how to ask. Sideways, in the language of ordinary things. She called about a photograph and a film and an old neighborhood, and she was asking, underneath all of it, whether the tether was still there, whether she was still attached to something real. I answered 2 of those calls from my car, distracted, already thinking about the next thing. I missed the last one completely. The hardest thing, harder than the grief, harder than the guilt, which is enormous and oceanic and does not diminish the way people tell you it will. The hardest thing is knowing that I loved her. That is not comfort. The ways I tried to pull myself from guilt, I accounted for when I showed up to her school events, about remembering her birthday. When I spoke of her with pride to anyone who would listen, with the genuine pride of a man who found his daughter extraordinary. I loved her with everything I believed love to be. But love, I understand now, is not a feeling you keep privately and assume the other person consents. Love is a practice. It is the specific, repeated, concrete act of choosing someone in the small, ordinary moments when nothing compels you to. If I had just picked up the call, if I had just Rosie needed me to pick up the phone. She could not tell me that in so many words. She needed me to already know. And I had been so busy learning how to be needed by everyone else that I had stopped paying the kind of attention that would have let me know. I have the camping photograph now. I found it in a shoebox 3 days after I lost her a 4x6 print, slightly faded, the 2 of us at the lake. Her on my shoulders, both of us laughing at something out of frame, something lost, something I would give every remaining year of my life to remember. I had it framed. It sits on my desk in the place where my phone used to live. I think about the version of Tuesday where I answer. I think about it the way you press a bruise not because it feels good, but because you need to keep confirming that it still hurts. that you have not gone numb, that you are still capable of feeling the full weight of what you had and what you did not protect. In that version, I walk out of the meeting. I answer. I hear her voice and she hears mine, and the specific sound of her father picking up, even when it was inconvenient, tells her the things she needed to know. That she was worth the interruption. That she was the thing I would leave the room for. In that version, she drives home. She grows up. I walk her down the aisle in her white wedding dress. She has kids. Her kids tease me, hug me, make me suffer like any grandparents suffer. She gets old. That version was always possible. That is the sentence I carry everywhere now, like a stone in each pocket. I am not telling you this story because I want your sympathy. I am telling you this story because somewhere in the world right now, there is a parent in a meeting and a phone lighting up with their child's name and a familiar thought forming. 20 minutes. I'll call back in 20 minutes, and I need that parent to understand what 20 minutes can cost. Not always, not even usually, but sometimes. And you will not know which time is the time until after. So pick up the phone, not because something is definitely wrong, because your child called, because they thought of you in the middle of their day and reached for you.